All right, hello everyone. Welcome back to another video. I have a review of the Neyman Thokk glove. If you go to their website, it's Thokk on their website. It's sort of a variant of their pig hoof glove. So the pig hoof glove has a split more down the middle for 2 fingers on each side, whereas this has a split for 3 fingers and your main pointer finger being free. We'll get into the mechanics of all this in just a little bit in the video, but that's the general design of the glove. Out of the box, very well put together. Stitching is very well. Neyman quality showing all through. And that's really all to say about the glove. I think the rest we need to get into the mechanics and where it fits in their lineup. Is it necessary in the lineup? And what could be improved on the glove and what's good on the glove. So my first comment is, what is it marketed as? So if you read the text that comes along with this glove, it's marketed as a glove for one-handed weapons. And it does say you can use it for longsword, but it's not like it's the first thing on their list. I sort of have to agree with that. I've been using this for a couple weeks now. And with longsword, it's quite protective. And for a person of my experience level, I could probably use this 24/7 on a protection level without too much problem. But I think for everyone and for tournaments and for overall protection, if it does want to be taken seriously as like a heavy duty glove for longsword, it's going to need some plastic plates on it. Sort of like the Spets Heavy does have some plates on top here and some plates coming down the fingers would make this a very heavy duty glove. The thumb is actually nicely designed. It doesn't really need much more protection. But for what the design of the glove is right now, I'd consider this sort of a medium duty glove. It'll be 100% protective enough for one-handed weapons. For two-handed weapons, it falters a little bit and it probably just needs more rigid padding on top. So one of the main comments about this glove that I read about before I ordered it and I followed up on online was everyone was complaining about how stiff the fingers were and how difficult they were to break in. Wasn't a problem for me because I'm used to breaking in hockey gloves since I was, probably 8 years old. Quickly, the method for doing that is to oil up the top, get oil in any of the grooves that need to be bent, and then roll the gloves up so that all of the grooves are bent, and then tape it that way for 48 hours. Same thing with this finger, just roll it up as tight as you can, and then tape it up. You might have to repeat that a couple times over a period of a week, and roll it sort of in different ways so it's not always rolled in the same way. And I managed to loosen these up in a week. Now, I kept reading about the pointer finger being tight, and no matter what people did, they couldn't loosen this. So I began to investigate that, and I noticed I had the same problem. But I noticed it wasn't how tight this was, and it wasn't the positioning of the plates. This might have been the same for everyone else, but this is personally on this glove. This part right here where the finger comes in is so tight that when you bend it, it actually presses into the finger, and it kind of acts like a lock. So people might have actually been thinking it was this that was tight, when in fact it's actually the inside that's too tight to allow for it to bend. It then in tandem works with pushing your knuckle to the top of this, which kind of acts like a stop as well for it to bend, because your knuckle ends up pushing right here. You get that pushing on the inside, and all of a sudden you just stop and it just doesn't want to move. So that could have been what people are experiencing if their glove is designed similarly to mine. So a quick fix for that would be creating a little bit more space here for the knuckles and then making this a little bit looser. And I'm pretty sure that problem will go away because I have this super loose right now. Like, there's no reason why it shouldn't bend. The only other area that needed improvement right out of the box on this was this section of the glove on the outside on both of them had a padding, this material coming down here, probably about down to here and then back up here. That's actually where your sword comes out. So I ended up having to cut that out. I mean, it took me 5 minutes for both gloves and it was a quick fix. I just needed an X-Acto knife and I had to cut the threads a bit here, and that was it. In no way did it take away from the protection of this area of the glove, because your actual palm still sits in here, and that's actually where the sword comes out. So it didn't actually take away from any protection at all. That's something they'll just need to sort of look at when they make this glove to make sure that they leave enough space for your actual sword handle to come out. So this glove has an interesting wrist design. You can see what they were trying to do by keeping this flexible. There's a problem. I'm going to splice in some video here, and you'll see me having problems doing a specific cut. So in that video, what was happening was this part of the glove only comes down to about here on the top of the hand. And what was happening was it would jam in like that to the top of my hand and kind of stop the sword from wanting to move and my wrist mobility from basically moving all the way through to allow the sword to actually travel through on its full path. So I think they do need to look at the positioning of this and the positioning of this part of the glove in order to allow a little bit more movement when the glove gets into a position like that. But I have a better plan for them. The Armadillo has solved that problem. I think whatever glove they make in the future, if they just do this, they don't need to do anything else. I think a lot of these designs that people in general and companies in general that are experimenting with of how to make a wrist, it's right here. This is perfect. Now, the Spets Heavy also has a really nice design for the wrist as well that doesn't cause any binding. But I've never had a more mobile wrist and a more protected wrist than I've actually had in this glove. I'm really happy with this. And in all honesty, they just need to implement a variation of this, I think, for most of their gloves. And I don't think they need to play with the designs anymore. Okay, so I'm going to be slicing in some footage here of me using this glove with different weapons. I did some more testing other than that, but let's talk about what this glove is good at and what it's not good at. So, one-handed weapons. Anything that you can hold hammer grip style, you can use these gloves for. So like an arming sword, for instance. Everything fits together nicely when you hold it in that style. If you need to use this glove for anything that has rings or anything over top of the crossguard type style, it's very difficult to use. You actually can't do it because this part here sticks out so much from your finger, and so does this part. It interferes with the blade, and then this part interferes with the this part interferes with the blade, and this part with the crossguard, and you actually can't get your finger on anything. It just kind of sits there floating, so it's pretty useless for doing that. And then certain swords that have bigger rings and some have smaller rings. Certain rings were so small you couldn't get the finger in. The bigger rings you could jam the finger in, but same thing, it would interfere with the rings and the crossguard and the blade, and therefore the finger itself was pretty useless. So anything over top of the crossguard stylistically, this glove is not good for. Longsword. If you're used to fighting with pig hoof gloves or Spets Heavies and you hold your glove more like that style and maybe your thumb a little bit up top, you'll probably be comfortable with these gloves. But if you're buying these gloves because this finger is loose so you can use it more pistol grip and manipulate it, you start running into the same problems. This starts running into the actual glove. This part doesn't really affect much. And then you start also getting a weird overlap like that. And once again, this finger becomes very, very fatigued and stressed just trying to find its way around on the handle of the sword. Also, you start getting into a position like this where this floats over top, and then the thumb starts floating over top of that, and you just can't get a good grip or thumb position, and it just doesn't seem to work cohesively together. So the thumb itself, the cap is a nice design. It might need to be angled a little bit differently on this glove. I think that might be a preference of user. But what I did find was as I move around and be manipulating my swords, my thumb would, as you can see, it kind of wants to slide out. There isn't much material there holding my thumb in. I think they need to sort of increase that a little bit and make something that's going to hold my thumb in there a little bit better. Just a small little tweak. It's not actually a big problem, but it's there. This thumb cap has this really soft gel right on the inside. I'm not quite sure what it is, but it's actually quite cushy. Whatever that is, they need to start using that all over the place. It's just super comfortable. All right, so what's the conclusion? Where's this glove fit? Is it worth it? So I've used all sorts of gloves. Right now, one of my favorites to use is Neyman's Armadillo glove. This is their 1.2. Their 2.0 is coming out soon. I quite like it. I have a review which I'll link below with this glove. So let's stress I'm more of a 5-finger glove user. So I'm never really going to give a pig hoof glove or a full mitten glove or this a really high review. Someone who's used to using a Spets Heavy might, and is kind of used to using more of a hammer grip with a limited finger mobility in the glove itself, I might give this a little bit of a higher review. Myself, for a backup glove, this will be good to have around. It does have some elements that need to be changed on it. But overall, because I like to have this finger free and manipulate it on the handle of the sword or for side sword over top of the crossguard through the ring, this isn't designed quite well enough to allow me to fully utilize this free finger, which means that you may want to stick with the full mitten style or the pig hoof, because I'm not sure if there is much of a benefit for this finger being free. Doesn't seem to be for me, at least right now. So on their website, they have this glove listed at 162 pounds and the pig hoof style at 150 pounds. I think that's very reasonable for what you're getting here, considering the Armadillos can start creeping up over 300 pounds. I think it's a really good starting point for these gloves. The level of protection, the overall quality of the gloves, I believe 150 pounds is very reasonable. I'm suggesting, though, if you're coming from another mitten style or a Spets Heavy, you may want to go with their pig hoof, or they have a mitten on here as well. That might be a little better for you. Keep in mind, they won't be as protective because they don't have the plastic plating on them, but they will be protective enough for an experienced fighter or for medium duty work in general. So that's my final thoughts on this glove. One positive note is these gloves are super easy to take on and off. That can be important for people. Overall thought is this glove needs more R&D for this finger in order to make it make sense in their lineup. Because right now, I don't see why you would get this over a pig hoof or a mitten glove, because this finger isn't very useful. So more R&D needs to be done here in order to make this useful over top of a crossguard and down the shaft of a longsword without it binding up on itself. So that's my thoughts on these gloves. They've got a large lineup of gloves on their website, so check it out. If you have any questions, post them below. I'll answer them. And I guess please like and subscribe if this video was helpful for you, and have a good day or evening wherever you are. Thanks, and bye.